Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory to God.
What a distressing pericope to read. We have a father who has one daughter who is 12, and his daughter is dying. This pride and joy of her father, the light of his eyes, is dying, and there's nothing that he can do about it. Not a single thing. He's in a state of utter helplessness, complete helplessness. He's already tried all the physicians. They've already been there. Oh, I'm sure. They've already been there for a long time. And they've accomplished nothing. And his daughter will die soon. We have another person who has an issue of blood that has rendered her unclean. It means that she's not fit to be in society. She's not fit to leave her home. And even the things of her home are now rendered unclean. And if someone touches the things of her home, they are now unclean like she is. But they can wash. But she cannot wash because she's always bleeding and she's always in a state of ritual uncleanness. Always. So she has no life. She cannot go from her home, or should not. Her life is constant misery. And for 12 years she has wasted everything that she has on doctors who have been unable to help her and have not cured her. But rather she remains in the same agony as she was before, and perhaps has grown worse. And so we have two people in a very, very broken state, in a very desperate state. That woman probably has been unclean so long she doesn't remember what it's like to be clean. She doesn't know what it's like to have a normal life. And the father is about to lose the normal life that he so loves and so treasures because it is his only child, his only daughter. And yet these people do the right thing. They don't become despondent. Helpless people sometimes become despairing. They despair. And what they do is they bury their face in their hands and they do nothing else because despair grabs them and they don't know what to do. And so they just sit in despair and they remain there. But Jairus doesn't do this. He's heard of Jesus, this man who works miracles, this great teacher. And the woman has also heard. In fact, her name is Saint Veronica, the woman with the issue of blood. And so they have heard of Jesus, and despite their helplessness, they come to him. In fact, their helplessness is blessed because knowing they can't solve the problem, they don't look for answers in themselves anymore. But they trust in someone else that can give them answers. And they've exhausted every answer the world has to give, and so they seek something greater. They go to the Savior to be helped. They go and see what they will find with him. Christ is near to them. He is, right? He comes to their town. He's near. But they have to go to him. Right? He's walking through Capernaum. He's walking through Bethsaida. He's walking through Chorazin. He's walking through these towns. And he's preaching. But does he go room by room, house by house? No. Is he going to go to the woman with the issue of blood's house, St. Veronica's house? No. Not necessarily. Is he going to go to Jairus' house? No, he wasn't on his way there. He's preaching the kingdom in the city. He's close. He's not there. He's come very close. But they must travel the final distance to him. They must travel this last distance to get to him. Christ has come down from heaven. He's come all the way down from heaven. And that distance is not a measure of meters or a measure of kilometers, but it's a measure of infinity because heaven is so infinitely more glorious than earth. It's so infinitely more pure than earth. And so he travels an infinite distance to come to us. And he is very near to us. And he says this throughout the scriptures. Right? He says to us, ask and it shall be given to you. Well, I can't ask someone who's in infinity away. I can ask only you who are in front of me. He says, seek and you shall find. I can't seek what is across the world. I can't seek what is on the other side of the universe. I can't. I can seek only what's in front of me, what's in front of my eyes, what's near to my ears, what's near to my nose. I cannot seek anything further than that. And so he's close. He says, knock and the door will be open to you. Which door? The door on the other side of eternity? The door on the other side of the universe? I don't know how to knock on that door. So he says that the door will open if you knock. In fact, he himself says elsewhere that he is knocking. He says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. And if anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in to him and will dine with him and he with me. So Christ is so eager that he even approaches the door, but he won't cross the threshold unless it's open to him because he respects us too much. And so Christ comes to this town and he's in the streets. But Veronica, the saint, and Jairus must get up and go. They must go to him. Imagine what would have happened if they hadn't. If Veronica had stayed in her house, then she would have bled until the day that she died. What about Jairus? What if he had not come to find Christ? What if he had not come to ask? What would have happened? Perhaps his little daughter would have entered Hades, and that would have been the end of it. And she would be waiting for the resurrection. What about the centurion who had the servant who was sick? He, with such humility, sent and asked Christ to come. He said, come, please come. I'm not even worthy to ask you, so I sent these Jewish friends of mine to ask, because I'm not worthy to ask. So I send some Jews to ask you, because they're of your nation. Please come. And Christ says, I don't even need to come. I'll just speak, and it will be so. In fact, does Christ need us to come to him for him to work? No, he doesn't. So in the case of St. Veronica, when she comes, why does he expose her this way? Why does he ask this question? He says, who touched me? In fact, the disciples don't understand this question either. They're saying, what do you mean, who touched you? Everybody's touching you. Why do you even ask this question? He doesn't ask this question because he doesn't know about her. He asks this question so that she will know that he knows that she has this problem. And he has always known. And that he's not magical in the sense that by touching him like some amulet, you get magic power. What he's saying to her is, you made the choice to come to me, and I'm giving you healing. I'm giving it to you. It's my power, just like it's my life to give, it's my power to give, and I give it to you. The virtue, the power that went out from me, it was mine, and I gave it to you. That's why he says this. He also does it to strengthen Jairus, who's about to hear very bad news that his daughter actually has died. And so Christ wants him to hear this so that he'll continue with him, that he will continue to ask him for help. The Lord doesn't need to know the troubles of these people. He doesn't need them to come and tell him these things. He knows them already. But he needs them to come and ask him so that he can freely give them what they're asking for, so he can answer their will. You know, today we also have St. Philip, right? And Philip goes to his friend Nathanael and he says, we found the Christ. And Nathanael says, if the Christ comes from Nazareth, I don't know what I think about that. And Philip says to him, come and see. Come and see. That's exactly what Jairus has done. He doesn't know Christ, but he comes to him and sees him. He knows him by reputation. The woman with the issue of the blood comes and sees what she will find. And she finds everything. And so we too must come and see. We have to go and see him. How do we go and see him? He's so close. Prayer, obviously. Prayer is so close to us. Christ knocks at the door of the heart, is what he says. He's at the very door of the heart. Open it and pray, and he will be there. Prayer is our life, our very breath. Don't forget prayer. It is the very life of the soul, says St. Nikon of Altina. Another Altina elder said, prayer is your food, the food of the soul. He said, it's better that your body should starve than your soul should. You should eat for the soul. You should pray. St. John Chrysostom talks about prayer. He has so many quotes on prayer. He has so many. But he says about prayer, he said, prayer should be the means by which I at all times receive all that I need. And for this reason, be my daily refuge, my daily consolation, my daily joy, my source of rich and inexhaustible joy in life. St. Gregory Palamas says there is no work we can do without prayer. He says we don't pray simply alone for spiritual things. We pray just to do our work. We pray just to do what we must do. Day by day, moment by moment, we must pray. And this is how we draw close to God. And then you can see something how Paul can say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Because through Christ, all things are possible. The woman couldn't stop her blood. Christ stopped it. Jairus could not raise his daughter. Oh, he would have wanted to, but he couldn't. Christ did. Same with the centurion, same with all the others. Christ did it by his power. And when you look at the saints and all the things that they do it by Christ. They do it by his power. They always do. That's why they're so humble, even though they work miracles, because they realize it's always him. But they ask him. They ask him. They go to him and they ask. There's another person who's even greater than these that I mentioned, who gets something greater from God. Jairus received the life of his daughter. That's good, but she will die again. The woman got a clean body. That is very good, but she will also die someday, and the worms will eat her body. And she knows that. She knows that. The centurion servant was made well, but he would later get sick and die again, is what would happen to him. But the publican, when he went to the house of God, he didn't ask for bodily healing. He said, God, forgive me, I'm a sinner. I'm a sinner, oh God, forgive me. And God gave him something much greater than help. He gave him forgiveness. He gave him justification. He justified him and sent him home again. So if the publican had not gone to the temple of God, would he have received justification? No. If he had stayed in his house, he would not have received anything. But he came before God and he said, God, forgive me. Forgive me. And so to go to the house of God is the greatest thing. David talks about it endlessly. He says, go to the house. He said, I will go to the wondrous tabernacle with a heart full of thanksgiving. I will go before God. I will worship at the place where his feet have stood. And in his temple, every man uttereth glory. I will go and pray to God. And David had so many troubles, but he would always go to the tabernacle, and God would help him. God would help him. St. John Chrysostom says about church, he says, you cannot pray at home like you can at church, where there is a great multitude, where exclamations are cried out to God as from one great heart, and where there is something more, the union of minds, the accord of souls, the bond of charity, the prayers of priests, is what Chrysostom says. That the church is the greatest place. There are so many men who don't have any peace, they're full of anxiety, and they don't darken the door of the church. And they never hear from the priest, peace be unto all, which comes from Christ. I can say a lot of my own experience, beloved, because at the pivotal time in my life, when I went to graduate school, I decided I would go to this Rockport church, so I went there. And I showed up for Vespers one Saturday night, and there was a huge crowd of people, massive crowd. I was like, oh my goodness, this is a wonderful church. And I went there, and it was a baptism. As soon as the baptism was done, every single person except the priest left. And the priest stood in the altar and read the Vespers himself, and I said, okay. So I stood there, and he saw me, and he came out and gave me the cross, and from that moment onward, I went to Vespers every single Saturday, without fail. I was always there. I missed only 2 the entire time I was in Wisconsin. They were both because I had exams that I had final papers to write. I was not righteous, and I'm still not. I wasn't holy, I'm still not. But every single day, every single weekend, I would go and present my sinful self before God. I would go and present myself to Him. I would go to His house, and I would stand before Him, and I would say, Lord, have mercy upon me, a sinner. And I did this every Friday night, and I don't think I missed a single liturgy the time I was there on Sunday. I would go there, and I would constantly stand before Him, and I would come and see Him, and I would come and speak to Him, and I would present myself before Him. And look what He has done for me. Look at the beautiful family that He's given to me. Because I was worthy? Oh my goodness, I never was. I never was. But I would stand before Him always, and I would go to Him, and my expectation was simply that I'm doing what is right. And so I would go before Him constantly, and I would say, Lord, help me. And I had many troubles, and sometimes I had grave troubles, many hard situations I was in, hard things I was dealing with. And I still went to church. I kept praying, I kept serving Him. Though sometimes you could wonder, hey, how much does this help me? And yet looking back on it from the position I'm in now, it helped me so much. It helped me beyond measure. If I hadn't had the grace of this priest blessing me all the time, if I hadn't had the grace of the mysteries, who knows what I would have done. I had many trials already, that's true. And the trials were there. But all the saints had trials. But I had His help always. I always had His help because I saw His face. I went to Him and I saw what He had to offer to me. And it was blessed. It was hard, but it was blessed. Beloved, don't stay at home in despair, despite many troubles. Don't do that. Come and see what He will give to you. And come before His face and present yourself. Though you may have sins, present yourself before Him. And He will help you as He has helped Jairus, as He has helped the woman with the issue of blood, as He has helped all His apostles who presented themselves before Him continuously and beseeched Him continuously, as Moses, who had many, many troubles and constantly would stand before God and say, Lord, help me with this people. They're about to stone me. Help me with them. And God always helped. He always helped Moses. He always helped. Even though you may have troubles, you don't know how the troubles will finally work themselves out. And you also don't know what you would lose more if you didn't have His grace to help you. The troubles that I had that I thought were great, what would they have been without His help? Unbearable. But because I had His grace, I could bear them. I could carry them. May God grant you all His visitation. And may you open the doors of your hearts to Him, that He may come and sup with you and you with Him. Amen.